Kamau Brathwaite was a quiet Caribbean revolutionary with Barbadian roots, a passionate warrior fighting against the language, history, and culture of our colonizers. His battle, strategic and painstaking, but acquiring foot soldiers, one student at a time, one reader at a time. Kamau didn't want us so much as to rebel against and banish English language and English literature, as much as he wanted us to acknowledge and embrace the languages and rhythms of Africa, the motherland, and ultimately to craft a national identity and to embrace and celebrate our nation language. His poem, Negus, poignantly shouts his defiance against meekly accepting another prescribed image of ourselves, our history, and our reality. In his own words, as if he were with us today, I must be given words to shape my name to the syllables of trees. I must be given words to refashion futures like a healer's hand. I must be given words so that the bees in my blood's buzzing brain of memory will make flowers, will make flocks of birds, will make sky, will make heaven. The heaven open to the thunderstone and the volcano on the unfolding land. It is not enough to be pause, to be whole, to be void, to be silent, to be semicolon, to be semi-colony. That was Kamau. He was undoubtedly one of this world's titans of post-colonial literature and the arts. He evoked in us all, whenever he wrote or spoke, the effective power of thought, the complexity of feeling, and the weight of history. It seems as though I have been saluting too many of our stalwarts all too often in recent times. And it reminds me how essential it is for us to capture our history, our oral history, from all stations, from all levels, from all perspectives. It reminds me of why we need to be able to preserve it for those who are to come. And as I do so, I share with you that my first interaction with Kamau was as a young minister of culture, 28 years old, trying to understand not only the job, but the country, the region, the mission. And in so doing, he has had an indelible mark on my thought and my philosophy and on my being. He reinforced what was planted by my uncle Ilombe and allowed me to understand that we should not be constrained in the manner in which others wanted to constrain us, nor should we be defined by those who want to define us. His was simply a mission along that arc that saw Marcus Messiah Garvey, that saw Barbara Nesta Marley, that saw Jackie Opal, that saw so many others fight to claim space. I remember, as Minister of Culture, inviting him to be a part of the first National Heroes Day ceremony that this country would have. It was when he delivered, as only he could in his haunting voice, a compelling and onomatopoeic work at that day on Bay Street, which was essentially his home. It will forever be etched in my mind, and it's perhaps one of the few audiovisual recordings that we have. Kamau has been able to do more than most in chronicling creatively our Bajan and Caribbean history and skillfully painting our landscapes, and doing so using the rhythm that is in us and defying the script and the font that was imposed upon us. Today is an appropriate time for me to say to all of you that we will miss a Barbadian iconic treasure, but one who was not of us alone, but who understood long before the government of Barbados set the goal of creating global citizens with Barbadian roots. Kamau was one of the precursors to that mission and that goal. I ask us today to reflect on a few of the many lessons that he left with us. Nation language. One of his distinguishing trademarks, as I said, was his commitment to nation language. He insisted that the language spoken by Caribbean peoples was dignified. Couldn't be a dialect. That would cause us to be viewed as an apostrophe. It was a language. It would cause us to be viewed as a semicolon or a semicolony. It had to be our language. And he separated himself from the likes of Walcott and Naipaul in this fundamental way. It is ironic that when he chose to go to Ghana in the 1950s, 1955 to be precise, and to teach, he ended up being taught. It is ironic that when he chose to go to Kenya, he came back with a new name, Kamau. It is ironic that this country has chosen to re-establish the bridges of the Middle Passage, not in the image of others, but in our own deliberate image, on our own concrete terms. And that those are the two countries that he laid the ground for us in decades ago, and that we are now reaping the benefits today as we speak. For me, Kamau was the forerunner of the chanters of dub, of the riders of rhythm. He ran the route long before Little Rick told us that fast food put Kukup on mute. We, as Barbadians, must ask ourselves, why is it that many of our greatest and most creative talents have had to leave the 166 square miles to fly, to soar, to be recognized? George Lanning, Austin Tom Clark, Jackie Opal, as he did, influencing ska in Jamaica. Joseph Sadler, otherwise known as Grandmaster Flash, at the center of the development of hip-hop. And even though not immediately born here, but of here, Garfield Blackman, otherwise known as Ras Shorty I. How do Barbadians locate themselves at the center of post-colonial literature, at the center of the development of ska, at the center of the development of hip-hop, at the center of development of soca, at the center of the development of the big bands in Trinidad in the 40s and 50s? Is it that we don't acknowledge our own? We do. But we must come to grips with the reality of the sociology of smallness. And the smallness of our land precludes from those who are passionate about their craft the ability to pursue that craft here, because the numbers are simply not here to transform. And I could add to that Gabby, who went in exile for a while, and Aja, who is on and about and here and there. The smallness of our land, I suggest to you, is really more the debilitating factor than the acceptance of the people. And that smallness has constrained audiences, has constrained earning capacity, has constrained so many other things. But the hardest thing is to recognize it. And to recognize that we have a duty as a people to lift them up and to create those bridges such that they can be global citizens with Barbadian roots, known to us as ours, but willing to share them as everyone's. That is our mission, to create, to nurture, and to lift them up. All of these people who I've just spoken about have all anchored great movements and unfolded the popular expression of our people who all felt the need to rebel, to go, to grow, beyond the chains, beyond the fences, beyond the boundaries of the legal construct of freedom they said was ours, only to be claimed by those diligent and courageous enough like Kamau to compose, to confront, to care. Our sense of self was another lesson. Like the true prophet that he was, his life's journey ironically reflects our journey and the vision that our government has tried to outline for the next 50 years for this nation, for future generations of Barbadians, the global citizen, claiming the world. He credited it to his travels to Africa. We credit it to the example of all like him and many, 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 many others who have gone before to lift us up such that we don't start from ground, but we take the baton and move on beyond where they have carried us. As a post-independence nation, it is a powerful, powerful lesson. And he taught us that we needed to be the best Bajan. Kamau embodied the most beautiful qualities at the core of the Barbadian character: quiet strength, earnest pursuit of true excellence, resilience with a tenacity of purpose, self-effacing in moments of great triumph and success. And I find that in Sagari. I find it in Rihanna. I find it in almost all of us, that we are uncomfortable with the spotlight on us because we did not come to seek fame, but we came to change people and change the times. These qualities are even more necessary today than ever as we seek to re-engineer our nation, to embrace the scale necessary to transform it, such that people don't say, why he wearing that funny hat? Or why he talking that funny way in a formal place? Don't mind they talk all that way when they walk out the building. I was so proud in 1995 when we went to Trinidad for Carrie Festa. And we chose as a nation not to send multiple groups and multiple artists. But as Minister of Culture, I said I wanted one transformative event. And we had just been introduced to that masterpiece, Bajan. And those of you who don't have it, get it. And we put on a masterful production as a country in tribute to Kamau in Trinidad. I dare say that his return home in 1997 to 2000 for 3 years may well have been as a result of that bridge that we built, that he was here in 98 as a hero, 4 national heroes. I ask us to honor Kamau beyond remembering his work, moving beyond the themes of music and drums and cultural history that permeated his poetry, his many awards, from the Bussa Award to the Casa de las Americas, and I can go on and on and on. Let us instead remember Kamau, the man and his character, his courage. Imagine the courage it took for him to be him when he chose to be him. I can find no better way to ask us to reflect. And I ask you to allow me the poetic license to do. Last night I listened to his own voice. Mercifully, the internet still has many things that we can access. And I listened to his own voice in libation, but in particular in the making of the drum. And I say, therefore, Kamau, like the drum, your voice will reach further than hope, further than heaven. Your people and your country will forever honor you. Your life, your work, your memory as a Barbadian quiet warrior, a Caribbean quiet warrior, a global quiet warrior. On behalf of the government and people of Barbados, I say to his family, to his wife Beverly, to his son Michael, his grandchildren, to his sister Joan, to his many nephews and nieces, we offer you our sincere condolences. And we ask you to embrace in your heart the memory of a man that has done so much to change so many, and that may his memory not only live in your heart as that transformative figure, but as that father, that husband, that brother, that uncle. Kamau, namaste.